Welcome to all those joining us on YouTube, along with the crowd here tonight. This is the right place to find out what Insure Our Survival is, the campaign from Extinction Rebellion, whether it's for you and what we're planning, as well as how to get involved. So I'm going to start with the big why and then hand on to others to cover the info that we can share on what we will do in October, the practicalities and the ways to get involved. Then we'll have a Q&A with our fantastic audience here tonight. All these sections will be put into chapters on YouTube so that you can find what you need, and the links shared here will be in the video description. So the first part, why join us on October the 28th in London? So there's many reasons why insurance bears some of the responsibility for global heating and all the biodiversity loss and other things that we face. In order to start digging up a part of the world, a habitat, people's communities, in order to build, a coal mine or an oil pipeline, there are four types of organizations that have a say in it. There's the banks and the oil companies, which put up the money and want to do it. But there's also two other types of organizations that have to say, yeah, that can go ahead. One of them, the government's involved. So for the EACOP pipeline, digging out Tanzania and Uganda to build a heated oil pipeline, they need those governments on board. The last one, though, is the one that's interesting for us, insurance. There is no extraction, drilling, digging, burning, refining, transporting oil, gas or coal at scale anywhere on this planet that doesn't require insurance. Anything that you're doing at scale, at a kind of corporate national level scale, requires insurance, whether you're desalinating water or poisoning the water, right? So that means that whilst they like to say that it's all the big banks' fault and big oil's fault, that every insurance company, they're in the ones that are involved in oil, gas and coal have a veto. They can veto this. They can say no to these new projects. They can say, we're going to deal instead with the things that humanity needs, not the things that they don't need, and we'll come back to that in a second. So these dirty insurers insuring oil, gas and coal have a veto on all the new projects as well as all the stuff already happening. They can say, no, we're not going to renew the insurance coverage for your fleet of super tankers or your oil drilling platforms, right? So what exactly are we doing then? So in terms of the amount of oil, gas and coal that humanity is digging up and burning and all of that today. So as we know, that's heating up the atmosphere, that's driving extreme weather. And the story that we're really keen to tell and to get through to as many people as possible is that by doing that, by increasing the extreme weather, it's going to mean that the places where we grow our food is subject to more droughts, more floods, more heat waves, more fires. The ability to feed 8 billion people is becoming more and more risky. There's a greater risk the more fossil fuels that we burn, and that's what these insurers are saying yes to, enabling, giving the rubber stamp to. So really, when you get down to it, there's real risk there in terms of the food supply, but that's also what's driving food inflation here in the UK. So some of these insurers that we pay for home insurance, car insurance, pet insurance, they're charging us, but at the same time, they're making food more scarce and driving the prices up. They're charging us, but they're making the floods more likely. And it's not just the general insurers like AXA that offer home insurance. It's all the insurers that are involved in dirty oil, gas and coal infrastructure projects. Yeah. So every single insurer, and there's about 150 in the UK, that's in that business is making it more likely it's going to flood more often and worse where you live. That also affects a lot of farmers, right? And there's a lot of reports this year in the UK alone of farmers going out of business because of floods, because of lost crops, and they can't make ends meet. So there's the two things there. There's the direct effect of the extreme weather on us in the UK, globally, but there's also that risk that it brings to the food supply chain. So those are the things that I think are really interested in talking about when we go to London at the end of October, the 28th, and do several days of action there, and then explode out across the country. These 150 targets, we shared some links earlier. We'll share another link with a map. There's dirty insurers all over the UK. The UK is one of the hearts of the global insurance industry. So when we go there, what we're looking to do is get those insurers out of being involved in any new oil, gas, and coal projects. Not just ECOP, not just West Cumbria Coal Mine, now cancelled, not just Rosebank and these other individual projects, but out of all of them. And what that does is everyone that pulls out pushes up the price for all the remaining insurance companies that are in the running. They all put their price up because there's less competition. And that means that some of these projects become economically unviable. The more insurers we get out, the more of these carbon bomb projects, which have got hundreds of millions of tons of greenhouse gas emissions per year each. There's 500 plus of them. But the more insurers we can get out of new oil, coal, and gas, the more of these projects will get cancelled because they can't make ends meet. The insurance is too expensive. So that's what we're about. And with that come a whole raft of other benefits as well. Every single one of those carbon bomb projects is going to rip up nature and destroy biodiversity and habitats that we need, we're over our budget for destroying that kind of stuff. But also communities. If we just look at the ECOP pipeline, again, across Uganda and Tanzania, they haven't even broken ground, and communities are already getting bullied by corporations and governments and people who want the project to go ahead. So every single one of those carbon bomb projects that we can cancel by shouting at insurers here in the UK has a real world effect in terms of the climate, in terms of biodiversity, and in terms of saving a frontline fight, in terms of saving people becoming activists in their communities wherever that project was going to go ahead. So we think it's really important work, and it's one of the things that, it plays to XR's strengths. We've proved in the spring that mass participation, direct action works against these targets. We've got an abundance of them in the UK, and by targeting them, by going as hard as we can, with as many of us as we can, we can make an impact around the world in saving these projects from happening. So the last thing to say with insurance, the sort of why insurance bit, is that unlike the banks and the oil companies mentioned earlier, but kind of like the governments, they have to deal with the real world. So insurance companies have to look at the current state of play, the physical realities of planet Earth, and the increase in extreme weather is going to cost them money. They love risk, and as the planet heats, all the risks are going up. The risks that country A invades country B is going up. The risk of extreme weather happening in more and more places goes up. You see the big bills when there's a storm or these kinds of things, those fall to the insurer, right? So the risks go up, and insurers love that because they make money from risk. The risk of something happening to your house is why you pay them. But the uncertainty is going up even faster. They can't model what it looks like to have a planet of 8 billion humans and a complicated international supply chain, and it be plus 1.7 degrees, plus 1.8. There's no historical data. We can't look back and go, what happened last time there were 8 billion humans and it was 2 degrees above, there's simply no way of them predicting the future. And that uncertainty will lead to some of these insurers going bankrupt. So the insurers know it's coming and they're worried about it. So unlike going and shouting at the banks, unlike going and shouting at big oil, we're pushing on an open door. The insurers know this is bad business. The insurers know that some of them are going to get burned if they do these deals. They're already putting up the prices to give themselves a cushion from this risk. And then everyone we take out, they put up the price more, they put up the price more. These projects can't go ahead. So that's the story. I think one other thing worth noting is that we also need insurers in the current status quo, in the current economic system that we have, unless something major changes, then to build out a huge thing of wind turbines or the next generation of desalination plants across the coastal cities. Somebody needs to insure that. So we do hope that some of the insurers don't go bankrupt, and by getting them out of new oil, gas, and coal, that also increases the chance that they'll be there to ensure our survival. With that said, I'll pass over to the next speaker.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jamie. And thanks a lot to our BSL interpreters. So Ensure Survival is a sustained campaign of nonviolent direct action. In for a few years now, there has been a lot of really strong campaigning in on insurance from a coalition of NGOs called Insure Our Future, and these have worked in 20, more than 20 countries and really developed like really a lot of knowledge. They've been doing a lot of great work. However, in February, thousands of us in XR and other groups took to the streets in the City of London and all across the UK the most concentrated set of actions against insurers that there'd ever been. And we saw this was an amazing week. We saw some genuine like results, and this really convinces us that that this approach is effective. So, nonviolent direct action that means disrupting business for one thing. It means causing outrage, like really changing the just causing shock and also forcing conversations with people on the street. Um, this direct action, like in contrast to the more sort of patient campaigning, really sort of demonstrates the fear that we feel. Like we know that the consequences of fossil fuels can be terrifying for us and for like frontline communities in particular. And so like creating like a drama, a scene for insurers really can help communicate that directly. Another thing to say is that as Jamie said, like insurers really like things to go according to plan. So it's when things don't go like that, that's when they end up paying out. And so we're gonna just run in there with like brightly colored banners and making loads and loads of noise. And that's we really hope you're gonna enjoy doing that with us. Um, the we now have some of these tactics like this has been proven. You know, as we've said before, the February actions, which many of you were part of, um, were like there was a very clear link. Zurich Insurance, for example, actually reached out to the campaign directly, and then just a few weeks later made the announcement saying that they were going to pull out of insuring all new oil and gas. They are the sixth largest fossil fuel insurer on Earth. And so we really feel like there's a lot of momentum behind this. We are developing, or we're learning from all of the great traditional campaigning that has gone before, and we're applying what XR has done best in a much more sort of targeted way. So yeah, we really hope that you'll join us. We hope you'll bring your sort of rebel creativity and courage. And we also really want to work alongside other groups and make this as good as we can make it. There are lots of different targets. There are lots of different types of insurers. So it's quite important for us to get our messaging um, right and do this well. So hopefully you'll follow the messaging, the hopefully you'll learn with us about the different types of insurers, and it's obviously quite a complicated industry. This is again something that we can benefit from in a sustained campaign is by really sort of understanding where we are able to have an effect and where we're not. So, I mean, as we've said before, insurance, we really believe this is a good strategy, that insurance is an Achilles heel in the sort of the fossil fuel system. Yeah, we really hope together, we really hope we can get this done and really make some progress. So thank you very much.
So I think it's over to me now, isn't it? Thank you to Kyra and Anne-Marie again, and thank you, Alex, for doing an amazing job. So before we start, I'd firstly, pardon me, first like to flag that we're aware that some of you are planning on joining the March for Clean Water on the Saturday before Insure Our Survival. Sadly, this has now been cancelled due to the organisers, due to threats from the far right. So do look out for a new day coming soon. If you're booked to travel already, do change your dates. And if you were coming to London for that, we really hope you will still join us in London for the opening actions of Insure Our Survival October, and consider joining us from the Monday morning and heading back Thursday or Friday. From what you're hearing tonight, I'm sure you are all buzzing and energised by this action. It's vital for me to say, please don't underestimate how much of a pivotal role you play in the success of Insure Our Survival. Quite simply, we couldn't do this without you. In whatever capacity you can commit to this, we'd be grateful for it. Whatever your commitment looks like, it will be different for each and every one of you. So it's important not to put undue pressure on yourself or others. I must say that at the moment, much of the specifics are in the making, which means that the information we're able to share tonight is quite sparse. But don't worry, this is just because we're kind of kicking off tonight and wanted to get you on board and all on the same page sooner rather than later. So there's going to be more specific information to come through in the next few days and the next few weeks. So keep your eyes peeled on Rebellion Broadcast. We've got a dedicated Telegram chat, and the Rebel Toolkit online has an Insure Our Survival bookshelf, and both are being linked in the chat right now, I believe. Thank you, tech hosts. In the meantime, we encourage you to think about what role you can play. Reach out to fellow rebels and your local groups and start thinking about how you can get creative. For instance, in your local groups, you can think about what insurance companies exist in your local area and whether they'd be good targets. I think a target map is being shared at the moment. Or perhaps you want to think about banners and slogans to use in your actions or marches. If you need any inspiration for this, have a little look at the action pack, which is being shared in the chat right now. This is going to be kind of a working document, so as more kind of information and resources become created and available, it'll be kind of updated in there, so just keep watching that space. Extinction Rebellion are continuing our wonderful mutually supportive relationship with Community Home, so they'll be working to provide accommodation both in London and across the regions for Insure Our Survival, and the link for that is going in the chat now. We're also working on how to best support you with your travel costs. So we'll share that as soon as we can, but there is a budget available to support anyone to whom kind of travel costs are a barrier. We'll do our best to support everyone's needs, but do note that the sooner you complete those forms, the more likely we'll be able to meet your requirements. I remember staying with local people in many parts of the UK, and it's an incredible experience to meet and connect with new people in this way. It's very, very special. So now it's time for some top line facts that will help you to get organised. So Insure Survival starts from Monday, the 28th of October. It's going to be a week of action. Actions will start in the City of London from Monday, all day Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we advise staying Sunday night to Wednesday night if you're travelling in. From Thursday, actions are going to be cascading across the UK for the rest of the week. We're committed to being accessible, so we'll try our very best to remove any barriers, so this is as inclusive as possible. The week of action will include spicy actions and non-violent direct action, and you are absolutely critical to help making this as effective as it possibly can be. The bottom line, join us, let's work together to push as many insurers as hard as we can and get as many more out of oil, gas and coal as fast as we can. And I don't know if I'm passing it over to somebody else now or if I'm taking this next bit.
You're up again, mate. We got double dolly.
Double dolly time. Sorry, let's crack on. So, direct action. So with any multi-day action, this is your chance to have that impact on the world that being an activist is all about. In order of impact, we have options for anyone to take action in the following ways. So we have high risk, high impact direct action. These have likely legal charges, but they really do make a really, really big difference. Next on the menu, low risk, high impact direct action. Targeted actions using tactics that worked in the springtime. Then we have lots of kind of roles in action support and other roles on actions. So your well-being, your stewarding, moving banners and flags around the place, all really, really vital roles. And then we have mass action. So either supporting direct action or confronting its own targets. So yeah, all the mass action details are going to be posted out on Rebellion broadcast with meeting places and times and what's going on. So this October is our chance to cancel more ecocide and emissions and stop more insurers from accelerating us faster towards collapse. So if you'd like to get involved in direct action rather than mass action or taking a support role, both of which are super important, necessary and valued, and likely to be well covered, then this is the best thing XR have planned in the UK to do that at. As an NVDA movement, we rely on enough people to start their direct action journey to maintain our ability to affect change in the world. For most of us, that started with taking direct action locally or at a Rebellion or Big Actions Week, then going from there. But some start with planning actions or higher risk actions, and any of these routes are valid, whatever works for you. So every major mobilisation like this is an opportunity for all rebels to start or progress on their activist development. And we'd love to welcome action takers new and returning into both the actions and action planning teams. Every single person doing that enables us to increase our combined impact, probably more than any other role. So we aim to support all local groups and regions and nations to target their local dirty insurers. And the link in the chat will take you to some of the key resources. Support in terms of funding and planning assistance is also available for all actions planned during the week of action. So some links being shared in the chat there. So to get involved in the vital big direct action elements for October, you either need to reach out to the actions folk that you already know or contact your regional or national actions rep. They will ask for a couple of trusted known rebels who can vouch for you, so it's worth getting them lined up first. If you can't find the way to connect, then please do email the campaign team, as we'd love to hear from you. To get involved in the mass action, all you need to do is turn up at the meeting point for the day, which will be announced very near the time. And to get trained or take up a crucial support role, do keep an eye out for sign-up forms coming soon. Thank you. I'll hand over to Alex.
All right, thanks a lot. So I believe we're going to have a couple more key links going in the chat soon. So we have a link to more roles with descriptions. These are specifically action support. And then there's a form there. So you can fill in that form to join the outreach team. So now outreach is absolutely crucial. As I said before, traditional campaigners have been doing this for a long time and have figured out a lot about the insurance industry, about individual companies, about ways that they could, things that they're doing bad, things that they could do better. And so as an outreacher, you can benefit from all that information. But what you do that's really, really special is to really get up in people's faces. Like you're there on the street. They didn't imagine having a conversation with you, but you're right there and you're forcing the conversation. This is crucial direct action in progress. So yeah, outreach can be really hard. Wow, I've found some conversations on streets in the city of London really get your heart going and are really just really terrifying. But you guys, I know some of you guys are absolutely incredible at it. So it's, we've got to be outside of our comfort zone at this time, right? So yes, please fill out that form. You can have an enormous impact that way. Other action support roles, there are de-escalation. So yeah, some of the things that we're probably going to do might might get people a little fired up, right? So having trained sort of de-escalators, people that are very, very excellent at bringing calm to tense situations, those guys are crucial. I know some of you are very good at that. Stewards, lots of stewards, well-being and first aid. XR is absolutely renowned for these kinds of roles. Production is in there, so that is helping set the whole thing up, bring it all about. Logistics, sound and power, food. There's lots of different roles in there. And then things like banner and flag holder, you may be able to do that just by showing up, but it's extra good if you can sign up for it in advance. That really helps the whole thing go much more smoothly. And then rhythms, that's another thing that a lot of us absolutely love doing. So yeah, get involved. What else to say? We have there are some creative team roles that you hopefully will get later emailed to you perhaps. And then yeah, so I think you need to ask within local groups and regions to for other roles and other details. But yes, we expect training to be offered, and yeah, this is absolutely crucial. The more we can prepare, the better it will be. So yeah, thanks a lot. I hand it back to Jamie.
Thank you, Alex and Dolly. Brilliant. Thanks everybody here for your time and energy tonight and listening to us. Now we're keen to hear and answer some of your questions. So we're going to open up the chat. Please do start typing your questions in there now. Because it's been limited on who could message who, just with the blue drop-down box, just make sure you're sending a question to everyone, and then we can see it and have a good chance of responding to it. Just to reiterate on the big ask for tonight, so we're asking on behalf of the actions teams that you come to London for Monday the 28th of October for 3 days and nights. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then return to take action at your local and regional dirty insurers. This is how we're going to get the most insurers out of new oil, gas and coal in 2024. So as you write your questions, a couple of things to flag. We've only got about 10 minutes for questions, so we'll do our best. We will be sharing more information. So on top of what we've been able to share tonight, there'll be more and more details coming out, and they'll come out via the Rebellion broadcast, the Insure Survival Telegram chat, and more information will be added as well to the Rebel Toolkit. So as things get sorted out by the team, travel subsidies, those sorts of things, then more and more information will be coming out. Those are the places to watch. So if we don't have the answer tonight, hopefully that'll be coming through soon. And we've shared it a couple of times. We'll share it at the end as well. There's an email address to get in touch with the Insurer Survival team. And so if there's something that we can't answer tonight, but critical for you or for your crew in whether or not you can come and actually booking that time and making arrangements, then please do send it to that email. If there's something that we can't answer for whatever reason, we don't know the answer, we can't share it, then do hit that email up with that question, and the team will do their best to get back to you. Great. So let's then open it up, and those of us who've hosted will try and answer some of these questions.
I can take one. There's a question from Bob Ench, who says, are these dirty insurers the same as companies that the public uses for home and car insurance? And so absolutely, some of the insurers of big fossil fuel projects are the exact same companies that that advertise to the public and cover home and car insurance. An example of that is Zurich Insurance that we targeted back in February, and that made that announcement that they were going to pull out of oil, coal, and coal, and gas projects. So those companies that advertise to the public are they're the most susceptible to public campaigns that we're able to we're able to get their name in the press and stuff like that. However, there are lots and lots of other companies, specialty insurers. There are lots of insurance companies that that don't deal with the public. They deal with companies only. Those names you would have heard of a lot less. And so it's we can put pressure on them, but we'd have to do it in a different way. So another part of the question was, if so, can we all switch providers to ones that are not dirty? And that is a possibility. There are some ways of doing that, yes. And I think we should include that in messaging. Although I would say by and large, like as XR, like our role is for sort of direct action campaigns and maybe to connect to the sort of boycott campaigns of other organizations. But thanks a lot for that question.
Thanks, Alex. There's a couple of questions getting answered in the chat. I wanted to pick out one, which is which insurers are we targeting for the animal agriculture industry? Thanks for the question, Justin. It's one of the weird things when you start looking into insurance. They don't need to tell anybody what they are or aren't insuring. Even a lot of the staff at these companies don't know that, as well as selling pet insurance to France, they're also, enabling, hundreds and hundreds of oil rigs in the North Sea. So it's hard to be able to map out exactly which insurer is responsible for which thing. But the ones that are the dirty insurers on our map, those are the ones that we know for sure are insuring oil, gas, and coal assets. So the large infrastructure that's required for oil, gas, and coal. Most of the ones there that are on that dirty insurance map will be the same ones that are also insuring large-scale animal agriculture. They're the insurers that underwrite, so cover large assets, whether it be a dozen ocean-going barges or 24 milk farms in China. You need to go to these same people to get them covered. So whilst we can't say for sure, it's very likely it's the same insurers. The ones that would be on the sort of clean insurance list, if you want to change your insurance and you're with one of the big global, AXA, Zurich, AIG, these kind of companies, they're the dirty home insurers that also do oil, gas, and coal. They probably do livestock farming as well, because you have to be of a certain scale. If you want to move to a cleaner insurer, that might be like in the UK, it might be someone like Hastings Direct or Royal and Sun Alliance, who don't do that large infrastructure insurance. So if you wanted to move away from an insurer that is likely to insure livestock farming, then that would be a pretty clear indication as well, because those sort of clean firms in oil, gas, and coal terms don't offer that kind of insurance. That's why they're clean. They don't offer insurance to gas and coal extraction, and they wouldn't be able to offer it to a mega farm producing all the milk that China demands.
Hello, I can see a message from Andrew Brown in the chat asking if we have a full media strategy and offering to be able to help with this, which could be useful. We do have a media strategy, but always kind of looking for people with kind of skills and experience and a willingness to volunteer their time. I'm wondering if a techie person can put our email address back in the chat. If you could drop us a email, Andrew, it'd be great to have a little chat with you about your experience and how you might be able to help. And thank you.
I'm going to take a question from Kev saying, I get what you're attempting, but why, how hurtfully financially is it to the fossil fuel project? Can they just carry on and afford it? And I think this is a good question. And I mean, the truthful answer is we don't know. Like, we are just really, it is a desperate situation, you guys, and we are trying what we can. We feel like this is really good strategy. The example of Zurich, I think, shows that these big companies, these are £1 billion companies, they are listening. They are like very aware of what we're doing. And the public part of their business is huge. And the fossil fuel part of their business, they can actually let that go. So we hope that the fossil fuel industry needs insurance more than insurance needs the fossil fuel industry. And so, the successes that we've already had really give us confidence that this is hurting them. But yeah, we will have to. We can only keep trying to really find out how far this approach will succeed. So thanks for the question.
Thank you, Alex. I'm going to pick up the question from David. Thank you for that one, David. It's particularly regards an individual insurer called Howden. Those of you who've already looked at the Dirty Insurers map, there's a company called Howden which have the most locations up and down the UK. And that's because, as well as insuring major oil, gas and coal assets, they have a different division of the business which helps ordinary families and households in the UK to find cheaper or better car, home and pet insurance, so sort of retail consumer insurance. So with the specific question with regards Howden's are one of the many insurers that talk a good game and try to hide their involvement in oil, gas and coal, as well as other industries that people might have issue with, so that it doesn't cost them money on the consumer side. So Howden's a very good example of this. I've shared a link in the chat there, which takes you to their page detailing the kind of cover that they provide if you're a midstream oil or gas operation, and that's the part of the oil and gas operation that gets it from where it's extracted to the refineries. You don't have a team dealing with midstream if you're not dealing with oil and gas. So Howden very clearly are dealing with oil and gas. We believe they're also dealing with coal. They're very cagey about it, though, because they spend a lot of money on greenwashing PR. And that's a very common thing across insurers. If you look, for example, at AXA, major global general insurer, they've got a policy excluding new oil, gas and coal projects unless the company involved has a well-publicized transition plan, a green transition plan, which is BP, Shell, Exxon, right? They're all spending billions on their PR greenwashing division. And AXA's saying, we'll only build we'll only insure your new pipeline build if you're spending billions on greenwashing. Well, Howden is saying, we're cutting our own, we're putting in sustainability in our own operations, but at the same time, they're representing projects that will be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of tons of carbon emissions every year. So there will be a dossier coming out from the team on Howden, but we believe they're a very valid target and that they are trying to pull the wool over your eyes. So look a bit deeper, and we'll provide some links to do that. Beyond the clear evidence on their website, there's also quite a lot of evidence, if you dig a bit deeper, that they're hiring a lot of oil, gas and coal specialists, people who have connections with the fossil fuel industry. They're hiring more and more of them into the team and looking to expand that operation. So the high street people, absolutely not insuring global pipelines, because they're talking to people on the high street about their home insurance. But the other part of the business in London absolutely is, and it's expanding internationally. It's one of their fastest growing areas as far as we can tell.
I see a question from Aaron saying, is it not the case that big oil and gas conglomerates mostly self-insure large projects? So really big projects like the ECOT pipeline involves an enormous number of different stages, all sorts of different components, moving parts and countries. These are like incredibly complicated projects to do, but also to insure. Many insurance companies are involved. And so for an oil and gas conglomerate to insure that itself, it would have to learn a lot of different sectors, construction and kinds of things, but it would also have to really win the trust of the companies that are doing this. So it's not technically possible. It's not technically impossible for oil and gas conglomerates to self-insure, and they do in some cases, but it's not as simple as that. So for the major insurers that have all that experience, to pull out would be enormously damaging for them. But thank you very much for the question.
Thanks, Alex. I'll add on to that before responding to another question in the chat. I think it's called captive insurance, isn't it? Where the company insures itself, and with that comes an enormous amount of risk if there's kind of a pipeline leak or anything like that, it falls on the company themselves to pay out for that. And that's not really a risk that they're really wanting to take because they know the risks. But I just saw a message in the chat from Rebecca, who says, is there one day that's more important? It was useful in February for people who could only come for one day to know which one. I would say the Monday. I think big, and I don't know if anyone's disagreeing with me up there. Monday, I think, yeah, coming to London all together, being big and loud and creative and ballsy. Not only is it like a really good day for the media to come and get involved and see what we're doing and spread that story, it also on social media will kind of show everybody else that's not there on Monday what they're missing out on, and then they'll all be there on Tuesday, I think.
Thanks, Dolly. I think we're coming to the end of our time for questions, but there's one that I saw which I'd love to respond to. If Dolly or Alex would like to take one more each, then feel free. Kate in Manchester has asked about Zurich. So we talked earlier about Zurich, who in the spring made a big announcement. They put in place much more watertight policy about not insuring new oil, gas and coal as a result of huge pressure from the other parts of insurance campaigning, and then a final push from us with direct action in the spring. So Zurich's got one of the best policies now in the world about not insuring new oil, gas and coal. Instead of saying, you've got to have the greenwash, they say you've got to have a transition plan and be progressing with it. So you've got to actually be walking the path, not just talking the walk, talking the talk. Even with that announcement, though, Zurich remain the 6th largest insurer of fossil fuel assets worldwide because of all the deals they'd already done at that point. So if you have home insurance with Zurich, they are still charging you to increase the chances that your home floods. Zurich Global Insurance is still flooding farms, destabilizing the food supply chain, driving food inflation, and increasing the chances of food shortages because they're the 6th largest insurer of fossil fuel assets worldwide. Just because they're not doing any new dirt, it doesn't take away the dirt they're already doing. So for this Insure Our Survival campaign, the first stage is to get companies to do a Zurich and say, we're not going to put watertight policy in place saying we're not going to do new oil, gas and coal. We're not going to support expanding. But the second stage will be for companies like Zurich who've already got a good policy to apply it to renewals. So if they apply that same policy when somebody comes saying, will you extend your renewal? Will you carry on insuring BP's offshore oil rigs for another year at the same price? They could say, well, no, actually, you've got to abide now by this policy, and then BP would have to go find another insurer, probably have to pay quite a bit more for the existing dirt. Yeah. So I hope that's clear for everybody. It doesn't mean that Zurich are the good guys all of a sudden, but we do thank them for taking a step and now taking a lead in the marketplace and being out ahead of everybody else in their policy on new oil, gas and coal.
Thanks, Jamie. I've noticed a couple of questions in the chat around kind of finer details like dress code and are we going to surround the Lloyd's building? So all this is to come. There are teams of action planners at the moment busying away. So expect to see messages on Rebellion broadcast over the next coming few weeks, letting people know kind of the themes of the day, what to wear, what to bring, how to get involved. So yeah, that's all to play for at the moment. Keep your eyes peeled.
Thanks, Dolly. There might be time for one more question if there's one you got your eye on, Alex.
I don't see any left. Scroll down the page, Alex.
There's one about brokers there that I thought was interesting. Some of the targets of insurance brokers, that wasn't responded to yet, was it? That source insurance for customers. Are they all arranging dirty insurance projects?
I'll go on that. I guess there are brokers that do home, car, pet insurance that are not insuring big oil and gas projects. Howden, as Jamie mentioned, are a broker that has high street branches and is like actively marketing to the public, but also they're insuring like oil and gas, while making a big performance about how they are very ethical and like you know facilitating the transition.
Thank you, Alex. I think that's all the time that we had tonight for questions, because we do want to let you guys go, as promised, at 8. If there are any further questions, especially if it's something that will make the difference between you coming and joining an action in London or nearer where you live, then the email address is there. It'll also be in the follow-up email. Pop it there and we'll do our best to answer it as quick as we can. And I think it's over to you for the next section, Alex.
Yeah, that's right. So I think the next thing we have those links again. So hopefully they're all together. You can cut and paste them. Make sure you've got them saved. And then, yeah, just as Jamie says, like make sure that you email just anything and we'll hopefully come back to you. But yeah, make sure you share this as widely. Anyone you think might come, let them know. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. We are now drawing to a close. So in closing, I'd like to thank the crew, all those here tonight and all the rebels working hard behind the scenes already and in the weeks to come for making this week of action happen at this historic moment in human history. A huge thanks to Ned, Matthew, Anne-Marie, and to Kyra. Hi, Kyra. Who've all been absolutely fantastic in making this call happen. And thanks, of course, to all of you for joining us tonight and spreading the good word to your nearest and dearest about this week of action in October. Whether you're watching, whether you come tonight or you're watching the video on YouTube, thank you for everything you're doing and the work that you're involved in fighting for a better, fairer, more survivable future for all life. We hope that you found tonight useful and informative and will commit to joining us in doing what you can to maximise our impact on the dirty insurers driving collapse this autumn and beyond. Whether you're joining us or not, please do pass this on. Share the link. This video will be going up on YouTube. There'll be a link to it on the Extinction Rebellion YouTube channel. Please do share that link and spread the word about these actions and how people can get involved. If you can't come, but you get 2 people who can into it, then maybe they'll find something that's really amazing and inspiring for them. And of course, it'll make a big difference for us on the streets. The more of us there are, the more power we wield. So with that said, we know what works. We know how to do it. Now is the time. All we need is for as many people as possible to take that leap and join us in London on 28th of October and the days following. Best of luck in all that you do. Huge love to all protectors from the whole team. So with that said, that's it. Let's unmute and all make some noise.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
Good night all. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.